Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Making Waves, our inside look at Roosevelt University athletics. Joined on this edition by Don Morris, the head golf coach here at Roosevelt University. And Coach, thanks for joining us here as we move through the spring now of 2025.
Yeah, glad to be here, Tom. Just willing to talk about anything you want to try to work through, especially with our golf season, how it's been going, and how we're getting ready for our conference championship.
Well, I may ask you for some lessons then, if you say we can talk about anything. But so far, how is the assessment, or what is your assessment of how the season has gone so far for you?
It's been a little slow. I mean, we were down in Tampa. We had a pretty good tournament down there. A little golf course was a little claustrophobic for my guys, and then we came back up here to Chicago and got a little some practice session. Went down to Lexington, Kentucky. Got rained out. Okay, so we drove down there and then had to come on back. And then the last three tournaments that we've had, which were down in Indianapolis at Purgatory, and then we had Cantini with Lewis University, and the last one, Upper Iowa. Average temperature was 42 degrees, blowing roughly on an average somewhere between 15 and sometimes gusting up to 30 miles an hour. So it really, a lot of resilience with the guys and learning how to play in those conditions, okay? We fared basically right about in the middle of the field for most all of those events. They hung in there, and we're just looking for some good weather for the Gillette Conference. I think we're going to really turn some heads this week because my players, they're starting to peak right now, and that's the most important thing to do is to get them ready for this week. The other ones are just sort of preparation and making sure that how's everything kind of getting in check, and everybody's working pretty well on all cylinders.
All of the competitions leading toward one point where you really want to excel, and that's when the conference events roll around.
Yes, exactly. Same way that, for instance, all the best players in the world prepare for the majors. Yeah, you do want to win some tour events and whatnot, but I mean, you're always prepping yourself for the larger events out of the year, and we're ready to go.
One thing I've noticed about the pros, and you mentioned about prepping for the majors, and as you say, they want to win the events, but I've also noticed, watch a lot of golf myself, that they're not necessarily unhappy if they don't win, but if they just have a good performance because they want to get on that trajectory. It sounds like that could be a similar situation at times with college golf.
Oh, most certainly. I mean, my players too as well. As I said, they're so young on their golfing journey, and they're always going to have a lot of self-doubt. And my job, especially as a coach, is to making sure to really ensure to them that I'm a good recruiter. Okay, I see talent. They don't see their potential and their talent in order for me to bring that out of them when they hit poor shots. Not, negative self-talk is a really big thing. Body language. I try to get them feeling 10 feet tall, feeling like they're going to walk through a brick wall all the time. So in getting that, especially that mentality, especially when we work through some really harsh conditions, and that can bring down a lot of different players. But for us, preparing this week, doing a lot of short game, a lot of putting and chipping, our ball striking is, I don't see any players that are out there from 1 to 5 that we have that we're going to be starting that are better ball strikers than my guys. It's just a matter of actually really getting the little things done, making sure that just clearing up your start lines, especially for your chipping and your putting. And we've been doing that this week, especially we've got a great golf rooms here at Roosevelt University putting room. It's 500 square feet up there, and we can go through a lot of the mechanic parts in terms of how they aim and everything. So we're all ready.
One thing about the day-to-day management of things, and you talked about how you need to make sure that the team needs to be resilient. And one thing about golf is that bad shots are going to happen. It's just part of the game. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I've always struggled with is that trying to put it behind you. You have to be able to forget about it right away. Is that something that you need to work on, or maybe not work on, that's maybe not the best way to phrase it, but is that something you try to concentrate on with new golfers as they come now to the college level, to not get discouraged when something might go a little bit wrong?
Yeah, I mean, they can all hit the shots. If I tell them to hit a high draw, high fade, or anything else when we're doing it in practice, they can all perform those shots. But they expect, as I said, is younger golfers in their journey, they expect to hit it well every single time. But it's how do you manage themselves? For me, giving them how do you work a yardage book properly, and where their aim points are going to be them a little bit more conservative with their lines, aggressive with their swings. You're going to make bad swings. I'm not I'm never concerned, especially the guys go, "Oh, coach, you saw me. I just, stiffed it to, 2 feet on the par three." I don't care about that. I love it when they plug it in a bunker and they get in a bad lie and they get it up and down for par. That's grinding it out. That's resilience. So you have to have that grit, okay, in order to actually play well in terms of tournament golf. I mean, they can all hit all the shots, but we got to making sure that they mentally just play where their shoes are at. I tell them all the time. You playing right here. Whatever you did in the last hole doesn't really matter. What you thinking in the future? Right here, right now. Focus yourself in. Let's go.
You talked about grinding, and you gave the example of hitting a bunker shot and then trying to get up and down. When you're able to do that, when you're able to almost perfect that, you don't want to necessarily be in that position, obviously, but when you're able to grind like that, when you're able to get up and down out of a tough bunker shot, that really can save a round, can't it?
Oh, yes. It keeps your momentum going, and it keeps them kind of rolling throughout to the whole round itself, because we always try to, in their yardage books that I put in there, I put basically 5 things. We call it the Tiger 5, okay? And and there's 5 basically things that we want to try to avoid. One of them's 3 putts, easy up and downs, not making any bogeys with wedges, bogeys on, and no bogeys on par 5s. So strategically, if you give them those goals and not think about score, okay, when they add it up at the end, if they keep within those parameters and how they actually play every hole separately, there are like 18 different puzzles when you're out there. You can't sit there, and I'm sure you had many rounds, Tom, that you played the front 9 and man, you had your best front 9 and you're like, wow, I could shoot this. Okay, well, you're getting way too hard ahead of yourself. And then you might start changing things, and of course, and then everything's going to go, golf swing and everything else. So it changes and evolves, and I get them to understand what they do with their golf swings, so they can make adjustments, and you need to make adjustments out on the golf course in terms of conditions, the lie, everything else. So it's a very dynamic environment that you're actually playing in, and they're still learning. So I take it as in terms of a grain of salt. A lot of times their learning process. A lot of times they're going to fight me all the time, but I play and practice with them, and they see me hit all the my shots too as well, and I don't hit it great all the time, but I don't make double bogeys. Okay, that's one thing I don't do. I always make sure if I get myself in any kind of trouble, make sure to get it back out. I have a chance to make par, and a lot of times I still do.
One thing that stood out as you were answering that last question, and I've had rounds like this myself where, and you touched upon it, where at times you can be going great and then it goes sideways really quick, or it can be the other way around. I've had rounds where the first 3 holes were terrible, something kicks in, and then you finish up really strong. How does that happen?
A lot of it is that it's just trying to get yourself and keep yourself in the present. Even like Rory for the Masters, when he made double on the first hole, it actually kind of freed him up a little bit more. So, I mean, there's certain kind of little cues, especially through the round, that you're trying to get yourself into a feeling. Okay, everybody has a good feeling when they're out on a golf course, and you're trying to find that. Now, it's a hard thing to do. Okay, but everybody has it. Okay, and some people are a little bit more higher or lower depending on, especially on your personality. I have, a bunch of different young gentlemen that are on my team, and they all play differently. Okay, so I have to adjust a lot to their personalities and how I think they should play. Some players are very, very quiet, like a guy like Max Homa. Okay, and other players that I played with, for instance, that are very, very chatty, like Fuzzy Zeller. Okay, I mean, he would always talk and whistle, or even Trevino. I never played with him. He's constantly talking. So those are just different personalities, and you have to find the one that mixes well with you to get yourself into that feeling, so you play the way you should play.
One thing about coaching a team is that and especially with golf because it's kind of a one-on-one instruction kind of thing, I would think very often. You have to tailor your approach to each individual golfer and each individual personality, don't you?
Oh, definitely, by far. I mean, there's a lot of things, especially when I go out to a certain player too as well, and I know what they do with their, and how they actually strike a golf ball. And when I'm giving them certain yardages and clubs, and we agree on certain things, I mean, it takes a little bit. I mean, I've been around golf, especially in playing professionally for over 30 years. So I can. It doesn't take me very, very long, but I do have to change my mindset quite a bit, very often with every single player that I have on my team because they are very all different, and they should be.
Is there one aspect of coaching that you enjoy most?
Generally, just watching them play. I mean, I'm a PGA teaching professional here in Chicago. I teach at a couple of their different facilities. One thing that we do is we work with players, okay, but we never see them play, okay. And golf is a game that you're actually out there playing, and most of us, as instructors, we should be out there on the golf course and watching them, hitting balls on a range on a flat surface, and there's it's right out in front of you. That's not golf, okay? Those are just swing mechanics and kind of working through what you're trying to do. But when you start getting into wind and different conditions and uneven lies, uphill and downhill stuff, and how the grass is actually growing and what kind of shot you're going to be playing, that's what really got me into, especially working with these young men here at Roosevelt University.
When you're at an event and you're watching your team, are there any things that are very specific as to what you're looking for?
I'm looking for just good body language. I'm looking for just a good, positive attitude, and them being very, very focused on what they're trying to do for every single shot that they hit. And they're not just. I mean, some of the easiest shots could be from like 150 yards, and you're in the middle of the fairway, and there's nothing, and they miss the green by 20, 25 yards, and then you put them in the trees 150 yards away, and you got a little bit of opening, and it actually looks halfway decent in terms of percentage, and they got to curve it around, and then they knock it in there 3 feet, because there was the imagination of being able to do that instead of just falling asleep in the middle of the fairway and just making a swing. You got to think about the trajectory that you want to hit it on. And what kind of flight that you want, either want to left to right or right to left, or what you're trying to do with the shot. That's the most important thing. It's the creative aspect of it that they have to be engaged on all the time.
One thing that I've always found fascinating about golf is the fact that shot to shot, it's almost every shot is unique, and it's a different thought process depending on your situation. Is that something as a coach that you find, I don't know if I want to say difficult to try to impart to the team, but do you have to try to explain to the team members that try to look at every situation individually and then just commit to the shot?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I try to get them to understand how to, first of all, when you get to your ball, you have to be able to read a lie. And a lot of them don't know how to read a lie properly in terms of actually going in one direction or the other. What is that ball going to do? Okay, and then what is that giving you? And then you're getting your yardage off your book, okay, and looking at the conditions of where the flag stick is. And then when you get into the book, and we use decades Scott Foss's books, and it actually goes to a percentage of where they should aim, okay, and get them into that process. And the last thing that they use is I tell them they can use their electronic yardage things. I do everything trying to get them very, very visually and actually working them through the environment and becoming like, for instance, wind aficionados. I've been playing golf, as I said, into the wind in a lot of nasty conditions for many, many years. We were down at Harborside yesterday, and it was blowing 35 miles an hour. And I love to stick them out in those conditions because, too, as well, when you get the harshest conditions, you're thinking more about playing golf and less about golf swing. That's a really important distinction because we do work some things in mechanics with golf swing. But when you're out there on the golf course, you're playing golf. You have to switch over. You can't think about golf swing.
When you're in a situation where there are some adverse conditions and you're watching the team as they're going through a particular situation, does that give you an idea as well as how they're able to react to adversity when they're dealing with those kind of weather conditions, and how they approach them and how they respond?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to respond a little differently. I have a lot of international students, and a couple more French, and a couple more Spanish, and they manage to. And I don't mind them getting a little upset, okay, especially with like an outcome that they can work through. I tell them to make sure that if they're going to actually say something, make sure maybe try to say it in your in your native language, so maybe no one understands you. I enjoy the passion when they have it, okay. But then being able to as well get it over with, okay. It's done. Put the club back in the bag, clean it off, on to the next one. So it's kind of like a reset. I mean, when things are going very, very well for you, you don't have to kind of go through that. But we do a lot of stuff, especially here with our physical conditioning, and also with yoga has been really good for the team with their breathing and being able to recenter themselves after, hitting poor shots, or when they start feeling fatigue out on the golf course, in order to get them back into, a better, state of mind of how they're playing.
Now, in this day and age of collegiate athletics, and you just touched on it, it sounds like there are many off-the-course opportunities as well to be able to help players improve their game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I completely have sold into, especially with yoga, with a mind-body connection and how you're actually breathing. A lot of our workouts, too, as well, that we do a lot of strengthening and also lengthening. We try to do more lengthening this time of year than strengthening, which basically is just stretching. And just getting them to always be together, whether any team activity that we do, whether like we did a charity event for Cure for Cancer at Wrigley Field. They played 9 holes in Wrigley Field, and we volunteered for that. And just getting the team together, and they'll learn off each other too as well with every single event that we do, whether it be a workout, whether it be yoga, whether it be a normal practice, or we do it at a charity event, that it bonds them all together, so they do have a collective that they understand that they all need each other. Okay, for us, when we actually go to any tournament, we're starting 5 players, okay, and we count 4 scores. Now, there is an individual too as well, but we're always very much concerned, especially with the team score. So they work through each other too as well, to check their alignments, and I get them to understand each other too as well, so they can help each other with certain areas, because I got players on my team that drive it very well, and some of them putt it very well, but they can learn off each other in order to improve their overall games, and we do that as a collective, as a team.
Finally, before we go, closing the circle a little bit back to how the season is going, it sounds like, recalling your initial comments when we just began taping, that you're pleased with the team's trajectory as this season progresses toward the latter stages.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, as I said, we've had some really bad weather that are actually coming through there, but I've seen just so much progress with their mental makeup and understanding. They're going to make mistakes, and that's the beauty. I mean, it's always okay, and I tell them it's okay to make mistakes. Let's keep learning from those, and we keep building on that throughout. We kind of go throughout the year, and hopefully we're going to get some good weather when we travel over to Augusta, Michigan tomorrow, and just continue it, and we're going to turn a lot of heads.
All right, Don Morris, head golf coach here at Roosevelt University. Thanks for joining us, and best of luck as the season continues on.
All right, thank you.